next week we're not going to be here. Thursday, there's going to be another lunch and learn at Gazaba. That's actually kind of a breakfast lunch. It's at 10 a.m. at Gonzaga on Thursday, and then that Thursday night we have our Envision sponsored EXP Christmas party. So whether you're with EXP or not, come join us at the Christmas party, and you can give us more details when I bring you up later. But that's why we're not going to have it next Friday. So we're not here next Friday, but we will have an opportunity for you to invite people on next Thursday. So my name is Griff Solinger. I'm going to come back up here in a little bit and do part of the presentation. I'm going to bring my buddy Lloyd up here in a moment to do the first part of the presentation. But this is an opportunity for us to share with other agents how awesome EXP is, right? And it's we're going to tell you a little bit about the company, how you can be successful as an agent here. We're also going to show you how to build wealth at EXP. Which is something the other companies don't do for you, because I know because I've been at several of the other companies. All right, but first we want to thank our sponsors for helping us out. Every week we have sponsors here. I bring up first Brandon. If you said insurance, bring up for Brandon. Thank you. He's here every week to help us out and sponsor to help pay for the room and all that good stuff. And he's going to tell you a little bit about what he can do for you. And you said insurance.
Thanks, man. So much like the amazing one also that we had here with Adam. I work at a brokerage, so I'm not a captive agent. I don't have just one product. What we do is we like to sell on value. So we find your clients, we talk to them, we find out about their actual situation and what they really need, and we don't just try to push them into something like, let's say, really low rates for like 30/60 insurance for liability, right? That's super low, and it doesn't actually cover them for anything for their automobils. We actually talk to them and say, okay, well, you own a house and investment property. You have really low liability limits for your car. If you get into an accident, someone will take off. So this is what we suggest. We'll do whatever they want, but we like to educate them. We like to talk to them about what they have, and then find the best solution for them. Another thing that I do is I also love to talk to my partners, build teams, and then when I'm talking to their clients, I try to help get referrals from my partners. Hey, Adam sent me over to you. I'll use Adam as an example. Adam sent me over to you. Let's go through your process. Let's find everything. Let's make sure customer service is on point. By the way, Adam's doing a really great job. If he is, go talk to Adam. Tell him how well I'm doing. And that way that gives him an opportunity to also get a referral from that person, sending them back to my partner. So if I can help you, if you have any questions about insurance, I would love to sit down and talk to you. I can geek out about it all day. It's not the most amazing thing for most people, but it's really fun because it's part of the wealth keeping and the wealth generation process. So thank you very much, guys.
All right, thank you. Not only going to geek out on the insurance, but we're going to geek out on lending, right? The mortgages. So Adam, come on up here. Adam, for those of you that were here earlier, you missed a great class on rate buy downs. I will recap it for you. 3, 2, 1s. It's a great idea to get a conversation started, but you can make you a better deal than that.
Make it fun, right?
I did your presentation.
Exactly.
But Adam with Next Mortgage.
Hey guys. Yeah, a few of you weren't here for the 3, 2, 1 buy down. But yeah, so basically that helps the phone ring, man. Like that's the buzzword right now is you buy downs because rates are up. And it does help the phone ring. And then just like down payment assistance programs helps the phone ring. And then once you get them in there and you start talking to them, we're just going to structure and find your client the best loan for them. It's like a commercial, man. Whatever makes the phone ring, that's what you want. And then once you have that contact, then you just build the best program for your client. So I'm Adam Graham. I'm with Nexa Mortgage. Nexa Mortgage is the largest broker in the nation. We have over 180 different lenders. So that means we're not trying to put all of our eggs in one basket. We don't work for one lender. We're a broker. We're actually, when you talk to your retail lender and they say, hey, my client you're talking to say, hey, they need a bank statement loan or a commercial loan or something like that. Say, hey, yeah, we can broker that out. But where do they broker that out to? So I'd rather send, and those type of situations are so one-off that you can't really, a loan officer doesn't, unless they specialize in, renovation loans or commercial loans, that they're not really educated on. We'll take that to a bank that specializes in commercial loans. They specialize in bank statement loans. They specialize in 180 different lenders. We have somebody that specializes in everything, and that's where we're going to take that. So they're going to get the lower interest rates. They're gonna get a lot better customer experience because, has anybody ever done a renovation like a 203K loan? Have you ever done that? Thank you. So, but you take it to a place that's what they're good at. So you just take it over there and it's a completely different experience for your client. And so that's what we're gonna help you guys with. So I'll pass out some cards. We'll talk afterwards, but yeah. So my name's Adam Graham, Next Mortgage, and just let me know if you guys have any questions.
All right, thank you. And I did one 203K loan with a lender who specialized in it, Bank of America. And it took 6 months to close, and it was like an $80,000 deal. And I think I owed a referral fee on it. Yeah, so I think I made minimum wage. So, all right, without further ado, we're gonna get started with EXP Explained. Again, we're gonna show you how you can be a successful agent here at EXP. We're also gonna show you a couple different ways you can build wealth for you and your family. And our first presenter is my buddy Lloyd Vaughn. Not only is he one of our EXP agents and a great all-around guy, he's also a builder who builds you a great custom home. He is a very lousy Vegas roommate. But other than that, he's a great guy. So give it up for my friend Lloyd. All right, guys.
Why is he a bad roommate? That's what I want to know.
Oh, yeah, I got stories. I got stories on this guy. Oh my God. If you can imagine like an old steam freight train snoring, yeah, that's my first hero. Yeah, I got not good sleep tonight. That'd be great. So, you know, we also call, let me make sure I get this thing right. Oh, yeah, so, okay. So we also call this lunch and learn. So because a lot of you guys weren't here for Adam's training this morning, just FYI to you, we are doing, whenever we're having these here, we are doing the training at 11 a.m. And so today, Adam Graham, I'm going to brag on him for a little bit. So I've gotten to know him for the last several years. We actually, my wife and I actually referred my wife's best friend to him a couple years ago, and the testimonial that she gave was best referral ever. So just from a customer service standpoint, if you don't know Adam, make sure that you get to know him, especially with the training that he did this morning. We were talking earlier on different ways that you want to market, right? Everyone's looking for leads right now. Now, if you really want to pay attention to who's really working these type of programs like Adam has out there, they're going to be great brokers like Adam, but they're also going to be home builders, right? Because home builders use part of their profit margin to help buy down that rate. Now, what are home builders advertising out there? They're advertising out of the PITI, right? They're advertising the P&I, right? It helps you get the lead, that you then educate the consumer, the buyer, to help them become your client, and then you help them understand the TI as it comes in, right? And that's what you do. It's kind of like playing baseball. It's first base first, then second, then third, then you get a point if you get to home, right? So just get them to first base first. Then worry about getting them to second base, right? I mean, not everyone does a home run, right? So work the system, work the program, work the comps that existed 5-6 months ago that were still high, even though the interest rate is here, price reductions are going down. Get on contract with a higher price, use that contribution to get the buy down so they can get the house and you can get some income, right? That's how you work the deal. That's how you work the real estate industry. Who in here has been in the real estate industry prior to the Great Recession of the mid-2000s? Okay, a few, half, okay, half the room. For those of you who haven't, and you're looking for leads, talk to those people who are still here, right? I can tell you as a matter of fact, so since I got into the industry about 20 years ago, last month, as a matter of fact, gracias. So some of the things that I've learned, which were hard things to learn, if you can learn them from people that have already been through it, right? Save yourself time. Don't go through that habit alone. You know, that's why we do these things. That's why we get together. So it can help you. It can help your family. Right, so I can also, just as a one testimonial for Goosehead, my family used Goosehead. We've been using Goosehead for 10, 11 years at least now. And all of my family's cars, our house, the boat, everything is all with Goosehead. Since they're a broker, I've got a carrier for my house and then I have a carrier for auto. One of them is one of my favorite things. So you guys watch TV ever, the Limu, Limu, the Emu, right? So I actually have Liberty Mutual Limu to get goose eggs. Pretty cool. I'm like, hey, I've got the Emu on my letters. So anyway, so we're gonna get going, right? So that's a little bit of the learn part of the lunch and learn. We'll move into the EXP Explained for those of you who aren't familiar or wanted to kind of see, hey, who's on the team with this EXP Realty? Who are we? Okay. Well, this is just part of the team because in the San Antonio region, we have over 1,000 agents with EXP Realty. Okay. So this is important, especially for any of you who are not with EXP, which I think there's a few of you in here today, or for some of you who are very, very new with EXP Realty. I'll just share with you a couple things. Number one, a little bit about me. Yes, I am a home builder. Yes, I started in the home building industry. I've been licensed for about 13 years with the Texas Real Estate Commission, right? So I do a little bit of this, I do a little bit of that. I've been with EXP Realty at the end of this month, it'll be 7 years. So I've seen a lot of changes, right? I know some of you have also been in here for 6 to 7 years as well, a couple of people. So it's really, really cool, some of the things that go on. If those of you who are newly licensed or new with EXP, here's a couple things that you need to really understand that can also help you when you're getting buyers, right? Because when you're trying to work with prospects to get them to be your buyers and to get them to be your seller clients, you're trying to instill peace of mind. Here's one. We are the largest broker in Texas. Is that powerful? Can you then tell one of your prospects, whether they're a buyer or seller, hey, do you want to work with the biggest broker in the state of Texas, or would you rather work with a smaller? Would you rather want to be one that's cutting edge, right? Where everything that we do is leading the pack, leading the industry. Whether it's just brokerage operations or whether it's innovative things like offering healthcare of agents, which EXP was the first to ever do, which is why now NAR, National Association of Realtors, is picked up on that. Why? Well, because who makes up the NAR? Executives at other brokerages across the company, along with the non-brokerage member, right? Okay? Well, why are they doing that? Well, because all of those leaders of all the other brokerages are like, hey, EXP is doing this, can't we do this? Well, yeah, we're an association, sure we can. Well, they just never thought about it before. Why? Because they're lazy, or they're not proactive. I mean, that's an easier way to say lazy, right? But it's true.
It was better when they didn't, and we could get all those texts.
Yeah, now we get 14 texts and emails a day, and then when they're trying to get very clever, hey, I wanted to make sure that you got my text, Lloyd. I'm like, oh, okay, their systems are getting very clever. So, and obviously they're trying to do that, and it's an offering from NAR, and it's a good thing. But the point is this. We're the biggest, fastest growing real estate brokerage in the history of real estate. I used to work for one of the founders of who is the current largest brokerage, real estate brokerage on planet Earth. And he shared with me some of the milestones that they went through in the 80s and the 90s as they were growing, okay? I know these things, he's a great fellow, okay? But I also know this, that we've reached our milestones in fractions of the time that it took them to reach theirs. And so when you look at our pace of what's going on, here's what you need to really understand. We're going to get to some of this in the presentation, is whether you believe me or Griff or Adam or Andrew or Ellen or whomever, it doesn't matter. Because if you can prove me wrong, I'll buy you a Diet Coke. But if you can't, you buy me one. Anyway, the point is, I'm telling you the truth. Try to prove me wrong, okay? There's no way that nearly 1,000 agents, plus or minus a little bit, on a weekly basis are joining EXP Realty nationally and internationally if it was a bad deal. There's no way that the largest private broker in the United States brought over 900 agents at a private brokerage would do that if it was a bad deal for them and their agents would have, right? There's no way that the #1 agent team, highest GCI in Canada recently and in Illinois recently came over to EXP if it was a bad deal for them or their brokerages and their team, right? So moving on from that, right, that's the proof in the pudding that we're going to get to, and you can kind of do some of your research if you're not with EXP or if you're new, so that you understand where we sit in the global world of real estate, okay? So that's important. But also, why did you get into real estate? Why do you have your license? Why do you want to get your license? You don't have it, right? Well, you probably want to get into real estate because it's a great way to make an income, right? Well, what's your why? Why do you want to do that? Is it a family member? Is it because you want to get into investing? What's your main why to that? Well, your main why, hopefully, is to provide a great living and a great income for that why, right? Whether it's your family, your retirement, your investment portfolio. And what we're here to show you is that we have the best tools, the best programs, the best possibility to get yourself to your why's goal, right? Because if you don't understand what that really is, then you probably need to establish that first. Because otherwise, you don't really know why you're doing what you do on a daily basis. Fair statement? Right? So, getting into it. It's very important when you're trying to figure out where you want to be. And this applies to whether you're just trying to figure out if EXP is where you want to be, or you're trying to figure out where you want your niche within real estate that you should be, right? It's important to instill this in possible prospects is to be open-minded, right? Because if you're not open-minded, the opportunities are going to pass you by. Right? We've been talking a lot over the last few years, like, oh, you should get rental properties. Okay, we're going to show you a way where you can actually earn income or earn wealth here to buy you rental properties to diversify your portfolio. But the problem is, if you're closed-minded to it, you're never going to get to be able to have that happen. Just like the couple people that didn't show up to that guy's meeting, and the guys who did are billionaires, and the others who didn't aren't, right? So move on. So here's the typical life cycle of an agent, right? You're trying to get the transaction real estate, make some money. You want to start growing. You want to leverage other people's efforts. I know that's why I did. I wanted to be a broker. And then hopefully you'll get to the point where you can retire. You've paid enough money, you've leveraged enough people's other efforts, you've built up a savings, you've built up a portfolio, etc., so you can retire. But how many people have gone to a real estate agent's retirement party? I never have. It's usually called a funeral. Anyway, so these are the things we're going to talk about, and we're all here because of this person. So this person is a super smart guy, did a lot of really big things in the 90s within the technology industry. You can look that up on your own. And basically, he was in the real estate industry whenever the Great Recession happened, right in the mid to late 2000s. Even over here in San Antonio, we may not have felt it until 2008, 2009, depending on where you were in your career. In certain parts of the country, it was felt 1 to 2 years prior to that, okay? So he was on the West Coast, and it hit them hard, it hit them fast, it hit them the earliest that it hit anyone else. And he's like, there's got to be a better way, right? He had already grown a big team. He's already doing $80+ million in transactions with this small team, right? And he's like, there's got to be a better way. Well, he had the background in technology, and he thought to himself, so maybe we should use technology to turn the real estate brokerage business model upside down. And himself said, hey, that's a good idea. Let's try to figure it out. And so then he figured it out. He developed the design, the plan, and started in 2009. So timeline, we've been around for a handful of years, couple handfuls of years, I guess now. And there's some really cool things that go along with this timeline, like expanding into 11 states within an extremely short period of time. How about becoming publicly traded and then offering the agent stock so they could have ownership in the company? How about offering the agents who really want to do a lot of volume and give them back their entire split, their transactional real estate split with the corporation, back in the form of stock, to really reward the people who really want to do big things for their real estate career, for their why, with EXP Realty, right? So there's a lot of really great things going on here when we move into it a little bit more. This number is a little bit old. It's actually a little bit more than that now, okay? But we've got a lot of great core values. We do a lot of things together. We like to share. I can tell you this. When I was at a previous brokerage, a red and white company, people go unnamed. When 2008-9 happened, I went to my broker and I said, hey, I need to get some leads, and I hear this short sale is a great way to do it. He goes, right now, it probably is. And of course, he said, short means not short in time, right? It's like the little, or the opposite. So anyway, he said, go ask so-and-so. He's the #1 short sale agent in the brokerage. We had about 230 some odd agents at that time in this particular red and white brokerage. And I went down there and I said, hey, broker told me to come chat with you because I got some questions. I did actually have a prospect in my neighborhood because I was farming my neighborhood, okay, who had to go into a short sale situation, so he didn't have to foreclose. And so I went in there to try to get the information. Do you think it was easy to get that information? Well, #1, he was busy. #2, he didn't want to give up all of his intelligent, his goods, his knowledge base to me, right? Plus, I was just a newer agent, you know. He didn't want to do that. It wasn't in his best interest. He didn't have the time. What's his reward, right? So the collaboration, the transparency that we have here is very, very different. I can tell you that, honest to God, that it is very different here. If I go to ask anyone for help, I have never once in 7 years been told, hey, I don't have time, or felt that their reaction was to not provide me time. Because even though Rick and I are going to go up against each other, kind of like per se, on the same listing to be the listing agent, even though he doesn't have a chance in hell to get the listing, just kidding. I probably would lose if Dana showed up for the appointment, but that's another story. But if he did get the listing, I would be a whole lot butt hurt, right? If he won, because why? Well, because I own a lot of EXP Realty stock. I'm an owner of the company, right? And so that's cool. At least it's someone on the team who won the deal, who's going to get the revenue into the company to help my stock and my wealth grow, right? So just a couple things on a couple of those little guys that I think is impactful. So healthcare, we've already talked a little bit about that. We literally have agents in the area here who, are saving anywhere from $300 to, one of my friends is saving almost $1,000 a month because of the partnership that EXP created with our healthcare provider. Almost $1,000 a month for him as well. So it's true, it really helps. All right. So we all know the offices are important, right? Collaboration, being able to talk to people, getting help, getting support when you need it to do a deal. You know, if you think about the traditional brokerage, right? I'm going to come over here and role play. This is me waiting to talk to my broker at my previous brokerage, right? Leaning up against the wall outside his door. So that way, when the other people that are in his office talking to him, or the line dissipated so I could get in there to talk to him, that's how I had to talk to my broker, right? Or the same thing for whoever's processing the commissions, or the same thing with whoever I needed tech support help because something was happening with my website or my syndication or my list hub or whatever. That's how you had to do it. The amazing thing with EXP Realty is that it's all virtual, right? It's like Call of Duty, but without guns, you've got like dress clothes on, right? So everything is virtual. Yes, you can actually design what you look like. I'm a whole lot skinnier in my design, which is really cool. But there's an office for your tech support, for your brokerage support, for your transactional support, for the people who are processing your commissions, right? It's all there. I can tell you, honestly, I have never waited more than like 4, maybe 5 minutes for someone, whether it was a broker or otherwise, to come and help me give me the information that I need, right? That's really, really important, especially if you're in the middle of a transaction. What if you're in the middle of a transaction that's on a big parcel of land? And the question will come up if you've never done, whether it's a ranch or just a house on 4 acres, right? And then you're trying to find, where's the property boundaries? And then you're wondering, hey, is this tree a monument in the survey? And if you don't know what I just said, look that up, okay? But then you can call on your phone via the app, so it's not really calling, it's putting your phone via the app, and actually log in on your phone to get the answer. They can help you out. they can literally take control of your computer to fix it if you had a technical issue, okay? So there's a lot of really great things of how this can help you save time. You can be working a transaction on a beach somewhere, right? You can get the support when you need it, and you can be anywhere. What about training? Training's important, right? I know that at my previous brokerage, whenever there was the training that was going on, and I was like, oh man, I was stoked for this training, and something came up and I couldn't be there. Whether it's I had to go meet a client, whether it's I had to drive to a closing, whether it's I had to go look at a property, whether I had a sick child, guess what? I don't ever have to miss trainings here. Because even if I'm driving, I can go into the training room where the training is being held and listen to it on my AirPod while I'm driving, or play it over my car if I'm in my wife's car. So, right, you never have to worry about missing the cool trainings anymore. But in an old-fashioned traditional brokerage, any of those things can happen, a number more, and you're not going to get the training that you really would like to have. Oh, we do the best training, our training's great, this and that. But you got to be there. And if you can't be there because you're a busy agent or you're working your business, guess what? You're going to miss the training, right? Something to think about. So EXP Enterprise, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to go through some of these next slides a little faster. We have all the tools that any brokerage has. We have a lot more tools that a lot of brokerages don't have. And what you want to be careful of is if a broker, if you're considering a broker and they say, oh, well, we have X tool. Yeah, which version of that X tool do they have? Do they have the Daihatsu version of the X tool? Or do they have the Lamborghini version of that tool? Okay? Just because it has the same name, just because it says Buick, doesn't mean it's necessarily a good one, right? So just bear those things in mind. So we have EXP Enterprise, and you can see it handles everything for you. It tells you where you stand with your business, with your commission, with your transactions, with your team, where you are in relation to your goal, and much more. We have SkyScope. It tells you where you are with every single transaction, what you've turned in, if you have missed anything, so that you can get paid on time to turn it in. It's a red light, green light system. It's very simple to use. It looks something like this. It's just a little screenshot to give you an idea. If one of these were red, it means you either didn't turn it in or it's not correct, or you used the old form, right? All of this stuff is covered for you with the EXP Realty. We have Workplace by Facebook. Now this is mega powerful, super, super important, because we all know that relationships are good. Don't we all want to try to get referrals from people we know, right? We're always trying to work our sphere of influence. Alan, would you take, if there was an agent in Dallas or Chicago or Miami or Los Angeles, would you take a referral if they called you up and said, hey, we've got a client looking for $350,000 to $380,000 in San Antonio, Alan, would you like to take the referral and pay me 25, 30% referral fee?
I love that.
You love that, because you not only want to get that transaction, but guess what? They can now be your client for life after that if they don't move anywhere else, right? And if they did move anywhere else, then guess what? You can refer them to another EXP agent, and then you get that referral, right? Well, guess what? Let's just pick on the big red and white company, or the red, white, and blue balloon company, or any of them for that matter. Let's say the red and white company. How many different brokerages just in the San Antonio region are there with that company? How many? A handful, right? Because you've got one on Sunterra, you've got one up here at the intersection, right? You've got ones in Lake McQueenie, you have one at Canyon Lake, you have one in Kerrville, you have one in New Braunfels, you have one at the Dominion. Are they all owned by the same owner and are managed by the same broker? No, they're not, right? That's the whole point behind we're the biggest brokerage. We have one broker in the whole state of Texas. We're fluid. We can help our customers easier. We can help you make money better. Going to Workplace, you can connect with other agents in Dallas and in Louisville and in Albuquerque and Chicago and Miami and so on and so forth. To be like, hey, I'm in the San Antonio region. I sell over Central and South Texas. If you have anyone interested in moving to the location, I love to be your referring agent, please reach out to me. And if I have any clients moving to your area, I would love for you to be my referring agent, right? And you do that, because guess what? If you go to any one of those brokerages here in San Antonio area, do they also have operations in Miami and Chicago and LA and Dallas and Houston? No, they don't. They only have their operations here. Why? Because that's the old-fashioned way of doing business. This workplace group right here can help connect you like water to get more business, to help you and your family, to help your why you're doing real estate. You need to leverage it. The CRM lead generation, so it's all KV Core, right? Other companies, oh, we have KV Core, we have KV Core. And like my old high school chemistry teacher actually drove an old, it was a 280ZX green bomb, we call this. It was a Datsun car, right? Well, there's that level of KV Core, right? And there's Bugatti levels of KV Core. And there's a couple levels in between. If you don't believe me, ask Andrew. He's like the smartest KV Core guy like in the country almost. Almost, or the one? Pretty close. Pretty close.
The best.
But it's important to understand that, because I've talked to other agents and I said, well, go ask that other broker if they offer such and such tool in their KV Core program. And they come back to me and they're like, oh no, they don't have that in theirs. So they're not the same. No, they're not the same. I told you they're not the same. Okay? So do you want more tools or less tools? Right? If you're a mechanic, would you like to have more tools to repair more types of cars, or would you like to have less tools to limit the type of cars and the type of money that you can make? You want more or less? If you want more, then this is the way to go, because it has every tool you could possibly want. You guys know when you go to websites like Amazon or Etsy or whatever these things are, and jcpenney.com like my wife and such. I can't even believe they're still around, but they are. So, and then you go to a different website, and then that little, and she goes onto my computer sometimes, and that young pair of shoes is following me around on other websites. Yeah. Right? Now, wouldn't that be nice if that was actually you? Like they found your website because you're marketing yourself, you're working your business. Wouldn't it be nice if they went to your website, and then they go to a different website, and then there's a little picture of you and your phone number following them around on those different websites? Our KV Core version can help do that for you. If you didn't know that, ask Andrew, he can help you do it. Might cost you $1,000 to $5 million, but anyway, it's worth it. It's worth it, and it does work. So it's called a pixel. It's called a retargeting marketing strategy, and our KV Core system can help you do that. Marketing's amazing here. We don't have limitations on what you have to do for marketing. As long as it's legal within the commission that you're operating in, you can do it, okay? But your colors can be your colors, your logos can be your logos, your design can be your design. It can look like anything you want, as long as you're following the letter of the real estate commission law, right? So it's amazing. There's pre-branded stuff, there's pre-scripted stuff. There's literally videos that are created, like high caliber polished videos that you can go upload your picture and your phone number, your website URL into this program. It's all accessible online, and then it will create the video for you. It really takes about 1 to 2 minutes for it to create. It'll give you a link, and you can paste that link into your Instagram and Twitter web and whatever the things are out there, and it's a video that comes up, and it's you, right? It's like, oh my God, this guy's a badass. This gal's a badass. Look what they must be amazing. It's all about perception. Now, this is a true story, and then I'll get on with things and finish up so Griff can come share the cool stuff. This is a true story. Talking about perception is important because perception is reality, right? We've all heard this before. So there was a market research company who wanted to market to real estate agents. And they did this test. They found a community, and they called every single person in that community, whitepages.com, still exists, okay? And they said, who's the #1 agent in your community? And they acted like a prospective buyer, for example, right? Or it didn't matter, but anyway, who's the #1? And there's a tons of different answers. So the next month, they started a campaign. It was an 8-week campaign. And they started sending out letters and postcards and posting online. to the next doors and the neighborlies and such, right? And then 8 weeks later, they reached out to us, hey, we're just talking, who's like the best, real estate agent, in your community area? And guess what? It was all this agent. It was a fictional agent that this marketing company was putting out there. Perception is reality. Farm communities. Use the marketing. Use that little video. All of these tools are there for you. And there's so many agents that aren't using these things out there. And I will tell you this. If you say, oh, that just seems too complex, well, that means you haven't looked into it. Because if you would have looked into it, you'd see it's incredibly simple to do. It's literally type in your name, type in your phone number. It does the rest for you. It's super mega simple. So anyway, the marketing that we have is really pretty amazing. So moving on, I better check my time. Okay, cool. Here's the deal, guys, right? You got old-fashioned stuff. You got new-fashioned, relevant, edgy stuff, right? In business. That's the deal. Old, new. Not relevant, relevant. Not active anymore in society. Makes the world go around in society, right? Well, we're the same, right? Just like Netflix, just like a number of different companies, Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, okay? We don't have Airbnb up here, but let's talk about this because I was just on a seminar the other day and we used it as an example. How many assets does Airbnb own? How many rooms or hotels or houses does Airbnb own?
Zero.
None. Why? Because it's cloud-based, because it's technology, it's internet-based, it's application-based on your mobile devices, right? You don't have to own the assets anymore. Why do some old real estate brokerages, the brick and mortars, still have office buildings? It's silly. I have friends that are still in many of these office buildings. You know how many walk-ins they get every day? Freaking none. Okay? So why do they still have them? Because they're stuck in the old times, and one of these days they're going to be left in the old times. Okay? If they don't catch up, they're going to be just like Blockbuster. They're going to be just like Circuit City. They're going to be out to pasture. Okay? And they're just going to fade away. Okay? So get up to date. Make sure that you're with someone edgy and relevant. Make sure that you're with someone like, let's take third party. I like to take third party because they're indisputable. You can't really argue with me about them, right? So In the News, who's owned by Brad Inman, says this is the best #1 place that you should be. This is the best real estate executive. They're doing the best stuff for their real estate agents. Like, that's third party. Like, he's the guy that goes around like internationally and evaluates these things, meets with the leaders, does the panels. He knows what's up, right? That's what you're getting with EXP. So we're one brokerage, right? We're not the franchise. We kind of already talked a little bit about this. But the main important thing, right, to understand about this is how does it benefit you, right? And that's what I was getting at with a lot of the other things I was saying is how does it benefit you, right? It benefits you by saving you money. It benefits you by saving you time that you can never get back, right? It benefits you by helping you learn faster. It benefits you by having the best training, right? Because let's say that you're at XYZ brokerage down the street around the corner, right? Well, who are they going to get to come in and train? The best local person who did like good listings last month? Okay, that's great, okay? Or would you rather have a trainer who's one of the top 10 social media trainers in the United States out of all real estate agents? Or do you like to have the trainer come in to teach you who's been the previous #1 or #2 international agent in the world, right? To do trainings. Or some of the top coaches that are now with EXP Realty, right? Like national and international people. That's who you're getting, right? So how can our model help you? And those are some of the ways. So we're expanding. Here's cool. You can see where we are. A lot of people have heard, oh, we're going to a lot of countries. Here's what you may not know. You know that there's a list this long with other countries that want us to be there? that we're not gonna go in there too fast, too soon, right? There's a huge, huge list. If any of you know Curtis Dixon, who's one of our executives, who lives local here in in San Antonio, you might get some of that information out, right? It's really cool. Or we talked to Michael Valdez at one of the conferences. You can get some of this information. There's a huge list. We're wanted to be everywhere, and we're only growing as fast as we can, right? As fast as it's proven. So a lot of great things out there that can help you as well on the international front. So here's the fees, right? It's an 80-20 split. It's a $16,000 cap. A lot of the fees actually cap, for example, like your E&O caps at $500. A lot of these fees are actually less. I can tell you less than other places. When Dave Schrader decided to finally come over to EXP, he literally saved a little over $40,000 a year just in E&O fees. Why? Well, because at his previous brokerage, they never capped. And each fee was actually more per transaction. For my previous brokerage, they were the same. They never capped, and they were about 1.5 times more. They're about $65 per transaction, right? So if you can save money, right, that's a good thing. If you can make more money, that's a good thing, right? So it's a really good middle of the road cap, I would say. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, so there's that other place, and they only charge like $500 per transaction. Well, that's great, but what are their fees? Oh, well, there's that other deal. They're only doing such and such caps. You know, maybe it's an 85-15 or a 90-10. Okay. Would it surprise you if I told you that it's actually still better here than it is there? Because it is. And there's a number of ways that you can actually make more than 100% here than you can elsewhere. And so with that, you guys, that's my time. Give it up for Griff. He's going to tell you all the good stuff how to do
it. For commercial agents, we also have a great deal of commercial agents. If you have anybody doing commercial business, this is a fantastic deal. One of our agents who's usually here, boy, that might be your food over here, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I saved like $300,000. In most commercial companies, your cap, there's no such thing as the cap. You pay a big split on every deal. So if you know somebody's doing commercial, we put this disclaimer up here because I'm going to talk about some numbers. I'm going to talk about my numbers. They don't really need a disclaimer, but there are people, this company makes such huge numbers that we will talk about that we want you to know that, hey, not everybody's going to get that. We all have the same opportunity. It depends on how much work you put into it. So, wealth building with EXP Realty. I was at 2 different companies, and all they ever did was tell you to sell houses, and they never helped you build any wealth, right? So these are some of the things you need if you want to build wealth. You got to have an active income. For us, selling houses or commission, right? That's your active income. But if you really want to build some wealth, you also got to own some assets. You got to own something, hopefully something that has the ability to appreciate and value. We give you that as well. You need leverage of some kind, right? You need to be able to leverage your time or leverage your money. We're going to give you the ability to do that as well. And then the fourth thing that you really need in order to build wealth is some cash flow, right? And so, like I said, that active income is commission. For us, assets is stock ownership. Every agent at EXP is the owner of the company. We'll show you how that works. Leverage, we call that revenue share. We give you the ability to leverage your time, and so that you're not the only one out there selling to make money, but you don't have to build a team or you don't have to build a brokerage. And cash flow, again, is 2 different ways. Our revenue share is great cash flow. But the stock also pays a dividend, so that's also the ability for you to earn some cash flow as well. And so, anybody been around real estate for like a week? You know, it's like the first thing you learn is the ability. Does it make sense to rent or to buy? Right? I just moved to town and I want to rent a house. Well, how long are you going to be here? A year or 2? Okay, well maybe rent makes sense for you, right? But I'm going to be here 10, 20, 30 years, but I think I'm just going to rent because I don't want to buy a house. I mean, that's basically financial suicide, right? But and every broker in town would tell you very simply, yeah, tell your clients to buy, and we all know the reasons why it makes sense. But those same brokers will look at you with a straight face and say, man, you should come here and rent your business from me. Come here and rent from me for the next 10, 20, 30 years, because that's gonna be the best thing for you and your family, right? So why rent your career, which is what most agents did. My wife and I rented our career for 8 years from Coldwell Banker and almost 4 years from Keller Williams. And in those 4 years, we didn't own anything that had to do with those companies. At EXP, we've been here now going on 7 years. We've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars in company stock doing the exact same work we would have done elsewhere. So when you do your first transaction here at EXP, we give you stock just for doing that one transaction. That's why we can say every agent who's ever sold a house at EXP owns part of the company. When you pay your $16,000 cap, 2.66 million, 3%, you're now a capping agent, we give you more stock. If you sponsor somebody, basically refer them to the company, bring them to a lunch like this, they decide to sign up. When they do their first transaction, they get stock because it's their first transaction for the year. You get a one-time stock award the first time that they do the transaction. I got an agent, after you do your full $16,000 cap, paying a $5,000 in capping fees after that, you can get your entire $16,000 cap back in the form of company stock. And the last way, the fifth way, we all have the opportunity to earn shares of the company is if you choose to, you can have 5% taken out of your commission, and the company will buy stock for you at the end of the month at a 10% discount. One of the reasons we made it 5% is so many of us in the franchise world, where I was at Coldwell Banker and Keller Williams, we used to pay 5 and 6% franchise fees on every transaction just for the privilege of putting their name on my sign, right? So for me, it was a no-brainer. I take the exact same money, put it into a savings account, and get to buy stock with it at a 10% discount. We make a lot of money. This is one of our quarterly reports. But what's important about that, I mentioned part of the cash flow. We pay a dividend, so the company takes part of the profits and pays it out to the shareholders, which is us, and it's just another form of income. And we just recently got paid, just I guess about a week ago, it showed up in my account. So the stock that we give you, the stock that we sell you at a discount, we pay you for owning it. It's a great thing. So the power of leverage, right? We all think about leveraging. You're gonna go buy an investment property. You can either go buy a $200,000 investment property, $200,000, or you can finance it with Adam and just put down a down payment, and you get the benefit of that house appreciating over time. The $200,000 house goes up, you get an appreciation on the whole thing, but you only put in a little bit of money. That's leverage, right? Everybody understands that. But leveraging your time is really more important. Rockefeller said, I'd rather earn 1% off of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own effort, right? It makes a lot of sense. If I can have 100 people out there doing some work and I get benefits from that, which by the way, that's right about where I'm at with my team, is right at about 100 people. So here's how that works. It's a referral fee, right? So I refer somebody like Lloyd to the company, and Lloyd's paying his $16,000 cap to the company. The company says, hey, Griff, thanks for sponsoring Lloyd. Your share of the $16,000 he paid us is $2,800, right? So whether I got 1 or 2 or 10 or 100, doesn't matter how many people I personally sponsor, I'm going to make somewhere between $0 and $2,800 depending on how much business they do. And so, just a quick math example, you sponsor John Smith, he goes sells a $300,000 house, that's a $9,000 commission, 20% of that's $1,800. That goes to the company. The very next month, you're going to get a deposit for up to $315 in your checking account. If that's the only house he ever sells, that's the last time you get paid. If he sells a house month after month, you're going to get paid month after month. All the way up to the time he caps, once he's paid in his full $16,000 for the year, there's no more revenue to share. But then when his anniversary rolls around and his cash resets, so does this, you start getting paid all over again. And then we have what we call a cascading revenue share. So once you sponsor 5 or more people personally, you can make as much as $3,200 on the people that they sponsor. And the reason you get paid more on the second tier than the first is by design. Len didn't want us to set this up to where I would sponsor somebody like Lloyd and say, good luck, buddy, never talking to you again. Hope everything works out for you, right? I have a vested interest in seeing him succeed as an agent, but also helping him succeed in spreading the word. And this actually pays down a total of 7 generations, and this is why our company is growing as fast as it is. We're the fastest growing real estate company ever. is because this business model makes so much more sense, right? At other companies, we've had agents who give testimonials, say, oh yeah, I helped my broker bring in 10 or 20 agents over time, and all I got was the Starbucks gift cards, right? So here I'm gonna get paid referral fees for the life of that agent as long as they're in the system. And so Lloyd mentioned at EXP, you actually have the opportunity to make more than 100% of your commission. You need to let that soak in for a second, because that is just not available anywhere else, right? You can make more than 100% of your commission. This is my wife and I, our actual numbers from last year. We did 37 transactions, and I'm gonna just do the math for you real quick. So we pay the same $85 a month fee that everybody else pays. So $85 a month times 12, that's $1,020 for the year. Then we have a $25 broker review on each and every transaction. We did 37 transactions, that's $925. Have an E&O of $40 per transaction, but that caps at $500 so on your first 12 and a half transactions. And as Lloyd mentioned earlier, I used to pay $75 a transaction, and we were doing 40 or 50 transactions. This right here saves me about $3,000 or $4,000 a year. So the max we pay in the company is $500. 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap. You go sell a $10,000 or sell a house, you get $10,000 commission. $8,000 goes to you, $2,000 goes to the company. Once the company gets a total of $16,000, you go to 100% commission, right? So it took my wife and I 11 transactions last year. So it might take you more or less transactions, just depends on the price of the house. We had a couple of cheap lots in there, so it actually took 11 transactions. But then you go to 100% commission, and there's a $250 transaction fee. But you want to do that, if you do that 20 times like we did, now you're paying a full $5,000 in capping transaction fees. This makes you an icon agent, and I'll show you in a second when we already kind of talked about this. You're going to get your $16,000 cap back in company stock. So then the fee drops all the way down to $75 per transaction, and we did an additional 6 more transactions. So if you do the math, I paid the company $23,745. Now, any other company in the world, that's where the story ends. In fact, when I was at Keller Williams, I ran this through my system. I would have paid them about $2,000 or $3,000 more, right? So it was a little bit more expensive for me to be there. At Coldwell Banker, that number would have been huge compared to this, because they took a cut of every deal. There was no such thing as a cap, and their fees were higher as well. So I start with, I paid them $23,745, but what did the company give me back? Right? Well, what other ways did I earn money? When I did the first transaction, right, they gave me $200 worth of free stock. Then I capped, right? I paid them my full $16,000 cap. They gave me $400 worth of stock. I had sponsors. She left here earlier. I don't know. I hope she's going out to sell houses. Charlotte's one of my agents on my team. She did her very first transaction last year, and because it was her first transaction, I got $400 worth of stock. And then my wife and I paid the $5,000 in capping fees by doing 20 more transactions, and there's a $5,000 total, and we got an additional $16,000 back in the form of company stock. And then the agent equity program, we invested almost $10,000 in company stock last year, having the 5% taken out of my commission. So we got almost $1,000 worth of free stock. And then our preferred partners, there's a number of these that you can get paid for using. The one that in particular we did was America's Preferred Home Warranty. So most contracts here, it's getting a little easier now to get the home warranty again, right? That was off the table for about a year, but it's pretty much standard that your client's going to get a home warranty and the seller's going to pay for it, because it's basically built into the contract. And every other company I did, I ordered the same home warranties, and I filled out the same data collection forms, and I didn't get paid a dime. Here, I get paid $75 for doing the same thing, right? So we had 10 transactions last year. We got paid $750. And by the way, out of the 37 transactions, there were several of them that did get home warranties, right? So that market cost me money. Actually, we sold some houses. It was all right. So now my total out of pocket is only $5,000, right? A little less than $5,000. That's how much I paid the company. Now we need to talk about our revenue share, right? The referral fees. I referred a handful of agents. You referred a handful of agents. Referred a handful of agents. I got right about 100 agents on my team, and through the 7th tiers. Now, I don't have very many people on my personal tiers that are selling houses, so I'm actually leaving some money on the table. We don't go into it in these numbers, it's a little bit confusing, but you get paid something on everybody in your organization. I have 1 or 2 people on my 7th tier, but I don't have 40 people that I personally sponsor, but I still get paid nickels and dimes on those people. Actually adds up to about $400 on a capping agent on my 7th tier, but if I had 40 total that I personally sponsored, that would be a raise of $4,000 a year. But last year, the company paid me $35,000 in referral fees. So if you do the math, in addition to making 100% of my commission, the company paid me 30 grand for being here, right? Woo! Now, yeah, thank you for the woo. But if you want to hear the big woos, as many of us that are here all the time know, there are people who make $30,000 a month. You know, I made $35,000 a year. There are people who make $35,000 a month. There are people who make $35,000 a week. There's actually a handful of people who make $35,000 a day, $1 million a month, if you do the math. That's why we had the disclaimer up there, right? We don't want this guy to come and say, I make $1 million a month, and you should too. If you can too, all you have to do is do what he did. He's got about 20,000 people on his revenue share organization. So that's the opportunity here at EXP, how you can make more than 100% of your commission. And even if you're like, well, hey, that's great, I'm new, or I don't sell that many houses, or I don't want to sell that many houses to be an icon agent, all you gotta do is tell a few people about the company, right? Even if you take out the $16,000, I didn't say I didn't sell enough houses to be an icon agent. You back out the $16,000 worth of stock. Well, first of all, we'd have to go back and back out some of the fees because I wouldn't have to pay as much in fees as I did. So that would drop it down some. But just by telling, I've told 15 people about the company. I got 15 people that I got sponsored that grew to 100. And that 15 is what paid me $35,000 a year, right? So that's all you got to focus on is, hey, it's a great place to do business. Come here, you know, do business. Use all the tools we give you to be successful. And while you're out there selling houses to be successful, just ask other agents, like, hey, man, would you be interested in learning how you can make more than 100% of your commission? And Lloyd's whispering to me, I don't understand it. So he's pointing over here, so what am I doing?
This one is just for testimony.
What's that?
God, man.
What? I can't hear you.
Quiet.
What'd you say?
Testimonial.
The testimonials. Oh, testimonials. Yeah. Alan, you want to use that? So, Alan and his brother, where did his brother?
Yeah, he better go and sell a house.
Yeah. So let's push that up, because these guys are 2-time Icon Award winners. And you build a revenue share organization. And come on up here so we can see you on camera. And tell them real quick your
All right.
your story.
So, yeah, thanks, Rip. I'm Alan Lozano with the Property Models Team with EXP. And yeah, so I just got the news 2 days ago that we hit our 2-time icon.
Woohoo! Yeah, congratulations.
And, you know, everything that Griff and Lloyd are talking about, what they say all the time is once you see this, you can't unsee it. And the first time I came to a lunch like this, I was sitting right there where y'all are, and that's exactly what happened. I saw it, it kept me awake at night, and I just kept thinking about all the money that I was leaving on the table, right? So when Daniel and I moved over, we knew production was of the utmost importance. That's what we focused on. And now, you know, with the stock and the revenue share, I'm happy to say, with the revenue share this past month and coming up on this month as well, Daniel and I were both able to pay our mortgages, which is 2 mortgages and 2 car payments, just from our revenue share. So this company truly is a blessing, and we're happy to be here. And now it's time to go for 3-time icon.
Come on,
Next
baby.
year.
Let's go.
So, for those of you that are here for the first time, stick around. If you didn't want a drink, you want to grab one. We're going to hang out for a little bit. We got one more sponsor to thank. Don't nod your head like I was going to forget about you. She's like, oh yeah, better. Yeah. So, Division Title is one of our sponsors. They're here every week to support us. They're actually the main monster sponsor of our party that's coming up. Not the party where it's at. EXP Christmas party. By the way, this is Hollywood Division Title.
Yes, so
or not, you're still invited, because the more the merrier. And we're just gonna have lots of fun. It's from 7 o'clock to 11:30. And there's a few of us in here that are on the party planning committee for EXP, and I will tell you, we have put a lot of hard work into this, so you guys have to come, because the biggest fear of mine is throwing a party and nobody shows up. So I'd rather have
That was
more
like
people.
your six-year-old birthday party.
That actually happened at my little sister's, we threw a party at
You didn't
at
mention the
McDonald's a long time ago, and nobody showed up, and it was so sad.
The venue,
We'll all be there.
the venue is, decent.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just as an added thing, with regards to the Christmas party, you know, there's sponsorship opportunities open, right? So if you know, lenders, surveyors, home inspectors, and the list goes on, right? Those opportunities do exist. Home builders, So we do have some home builders who have reached out recently who are going to be participating, but also they don't even have to necessarily do a sponsorship. They're like, oh, we don't have it in the budget or whatever. Just tell them to come. Just tell them to join, right? They can buy the $25 ticket
but we do
and
need
just still,
sponsors.
yeah, I know we do,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying as a next resort, just invite them, right? It's a party. I mean, there are people who you work with. There are people like Brandon and others, and so just have them come just to participate and have fun and be part of the team, right? Because they are part of your real estate team, as well.
Yes, thank you for that plug, because we need more money. We need more money for this party. So if you guys know of any sponsors, please let me know. And that would be very helpful. Okay, now, on to Envision Title. So I am their marketing rep. And so I recently went to see Fluffy the comedian, and he was talking all about how Bucky's is an experience. And I was like, Bucky's is an experience. And I was like, oh, you know what else is an experience? Envision Title. We are like no other title company. When you come to Envision, it is life-changing, just like EXP. When you walk in with your client, you have come to the end of the race here in McLean. I like to say, like, chest bumping and fist bumping, and like, yeah, we're closing. And, you are greeted by our girl named Giselle. She told me she was changing her title, but she's basically director of purchase credit. So when you walk in, you're greeted by somebody totally happy to see you guys, that you guys have made it to the end. We have fresh baked cookies for every closing, and we also have your client's name on the TV, and then you walk into your closing room, and there it is, the house that they're purchasing or selling with the photos on from MLS circulating on the TV. If it's an important closing, just let me know, and I'll have champagne out or something special other than cookies. So obviously, the main thing for realtors, and I can say this because I've been a realtor for 9 years, is having the title company do the correct work and having it done on time, because you don't want to stress about it. You want to, here's my contract, okay, and here's my client's information, and I'll do it correctly. And that is important to you guys, and it's important to us too. Because when you guys have your file done correctly, y'all are happy and your clients are happy. And everything about real estate is based on referrals. So that way, your client will refer you guys, and you guys will send us more listings. And also refer us to all your other realtor friends. So this is where you guys are thinking, oh, Lion King. It is like Lion King. It's the circle of life. Yes, it's the circle of life and referrals. And so I asked for everybody to give us at least one shot. Send us one contract. It doesn't matter if it's 50 grand or 50 million, because we can handle anything. We can handle land, commercial, residential. We are a title company that can handle everything. So please send us at least one, give us a chance, and we'll amaze you and change your life just like you.
Last but not least, thanks again to our sponsors. They're helping us cover the room. So if you're a guest here today, lunch is on them, and everybody else can give $20. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Mayor Griff, why don't you take that side, I'll take this side.
Yeah, we'll take the rest.